Chilling tales for dark nights.
Want to make sure you never miss a Chilling Tales for Dark Nights video again? Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell to turn on notifications.
Welcome, dear listener, to Fear from the Heartland. I'm your host, Paul J. McSorley. Set aside some moments now and take an adventurous ride on a journey into the psyche of some talented writers. They will dig into your being and titillate you. Oh, I love that word, titillate. While the stories may not all take place in the Heartland, I am delivering them to you from the Heartland. My intention is to strike fear and confusion into the mind, soul, and yes, the heart. This is Fear from the Heartland. Hello, Heartlanders, and welcome to episode 20 of Fear from the Heartland. I'm your host, Paul J. McSorley. A few weeks back, Wifey and I headed to the woods for 9 days to recharge the batteries. We spent Thanksgiving there as well, had a great time. No thanks, misgivings whatsoever. It got me to thinking how thankful we are to have the Heartlanders join us each week and support our little endeavor. For that, I thank each and every one of you who have made our show so enjoyable to do. If you get a moment and want to drop a comment, we'll do our best to respond to it. Please know if the wifey's name, my name, or that of an author replies to you, it is us doing it, not an automaton. We're too small time for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Two wonderful tales tonight by J.C. Fields and Ashley Fontainne. A story about a hitman, and a macabre tale with a freaky Groundhog's Day feel to it. Let's get after it. Contract killing, or murder-for-hire scenarios, have filled the pages of suspense novels and the reels of Hollywood movies for decades. The first American film about a hitman was released in 1942 under the title This Gun for Hire. The movie, based on the 1936 novel A Gun for Sale by British author Graham Greene, made a young actor named Alan Ladd a star. In real life, hitmen are generally members of drug cartels or organized crime syndicates. Some studies have shown the most common reason for murder for hire is insurance policy payouts or the elimination of a business competitor. In fiction and film, hitmen are generally portrayed as cold-blooded and bloodthirsty creatures who dispatch their quarry with the efficiency of an automaton. In our story, we find an intelligent man who is down on his luck and can't seem to catch a break. His cascade into the life of murder for hire has left him haunted by those he has killed, until everything changes. And now, may we offer for your indulgence, No Tears for Sara. Chicago, Illinois. Shorty Small, a man neither short nor small, took a final drag on his cigarette. Without diverting his gaze, he flicked the butt to his right. Glowing flakes of tobacco scattered as the dying cigarette struck the neighboring building's brick wall. The sparks triggered small nocturnal creatures to scurry away in the debris-littered alleyway. His concentration remained on the back door of a diner 20 yards from where he stood in the shadows. The odor of rotting food in the cafe's dumpster permeated the area. A single low-wattage bulb above the restaurant's door provided a feeble glow, scarcely penetrating the gloom up and down the delivery lane. Accustomed to uncomfortable waits, Small glanced at his watch. No time for another cigarette. His mark could emerge at any moment. He did not care to know the reason why or who wanted the man he waited for dead. The money he would receive for this particular job almost compensated for his discomfort and efforts. Time passed slowly. He checked his watch again. Late. The man always brought a large trash bag out to the dumpster before closing the diner. Suddenly, the door swung open and a figure emerged carrying 2 bags of refuse from the restaurant. He walked quickly toward the industrial-sized trash bin. When he arrived, he turned his back to Small and sat one bag down to free his left hand to raise the lid. The hitman slipped from his darkened hiding place, extracted a suppressed Ruger .22 caliber SR from the small of his back, and silently approached the man now hefting one of the bags into the trash bin. Placing the gun barrel a foot from the nape of the mark's neck, he pulled the trigger twice. Whoever the man was, or would have been, ended there in the darkened alleyway. Shorty Small disappeared into the night, leaving the now deceased target to be discovered by some hapless soul. Sleep remained elusive as the big man lay in his bed and stared at the ceiling fan slowly circling above him. Every time he closed his eyes, the faces of his victims gathered to point their accusing fingers at him. Despite the air from the fan, sweat soaked his pillow and stained the sheets on the creaking bed. He glanced at the digital clock on the nightstand, 4:22 a.m. Only the light of dawn would cause the images to go away and allow a dreamless sleep to overtake him. Somewhere around noon, he rose and sat on the side of the bed. With elbows on his knees, he supported his head with the palms of his hands. The toll of sleepless nights and constant weariness created an overwhelming weight on his shoulders. He reached for a cigarette on the nightstand. The stench of stale tobacco smoke and the pile of butts in an ashtray saturated the air of his small bedroom. Lighting the cigarette, he inhaled deeply. The rush of nicotine only slightly eased the despair he felt every morning. Alleviating his depression with alcohol or pills did not appeal to him. Individuals within his profession who self-medicated normally experienced a short career. A knock on his apartment door startled him as he munched on a sandwich made from leftover meatloaf. Extracting the Ruger from the small of his back, he approached the door and growled, "Yeah, who is it?" "It's Sara, you big oaf. Who else would it be?" He unlocked the door and released the security chain. Properly describing Sara continually eluded him. At first glance, she projected the illusion of a kindly grandmother. Her professionally styled silver gray hair showcased the short pendant earrings she always wore. The stone in the earrings constantly matched her outfit. Today she wore a maroon pantsuit with black wedge heel pumps. Rumors suggesting a former career as a high-dollar fashion model were probably correct, as even in her mid-60s, she caused men to turn their heads. Once you were past the outside package, she possessed the disposition of an angry, sarcastic, and bitter old woman. As soon as she passed the doorframe, she sniffed and wrinkled her nose. "How in the hell can you stand to live in this dump?" "It's my dump. No one asked your opinion." She dropped an envelope on the small breakfast table and turned to look at him. "The client was pleased, Shorty. They've already paid." The guy was a cook on the night shift of a greasy spoon diner. What did he do to piss off someone enough they would pay for him to get whacked? "I never ask questions, but rumors are he used to be an accountant who put a decimal in the wrong place and then took off with the money. But like I said, I don't ask too many questions. All I do is negotiate the contract, assign personnel, and collect the money." "Maybe you should ask questions once in a while." "Why bother?" He shrugged as he took another bite of his sandwich. "Asking questions can lead to problems neither you, nor mainly I, don't need." "Always thinking of others, aren't you, Sara?" She smiled as she opened the refrigerator door. "Got any beer?" "Do you see any?" "No. Use some of that money I just gave you and buy some for my next visit." Shutting the fridge, she walked back toward the apartment door. "I have another assignment for you." "I'm considering retiring." Her shrill laugh filled the small apartment. "Retire? You?" "Yeah, I'm not getting any younger, and one of these days I'll make a mistake and pay for it." "Well, the biggest mistake you could make right now is to retire." "Why?" "Because I have enough information on your antics over the past decade to cause a judge to throw you into the darkest hole he can find and keep you there for multiple lifetimes. That was not our arrangement, Sara. She laughed again. The high-pitched sound grated on his nerves. Shorty Small, you of all people should know better than to make a deal with someone like me. You need to keep me happy, because if you don't... She wagged her finger and made a ticking sound. Now, do you want the new assignment? He didn't answer right away. He stuffed the rest of the sandwich in his mouth and mumbled, Give me the details. This one is worth 5 figures, much more than the nickel and dime ones we've been getting lately. Why? He's a rich banker, and surprise, surprise, they actually told me the reason this time. He chewed and continued to stare at her. What'd he do? Seems he's been a naughty boy and keeps sticking his hand in the corporate cookie jar. He can afford the best lawyers, so it will be cheaper for them to just have him eliminated rather than the expense of prosecuting him. They are willing to pay a bonus if you make it look like a suicide. You know, like the way you always make it look so convincing. When? As soon as possible. It will take time to study him and find the best opportunity. I told them that. And? You have a week. I'll need the details. You'll get them the normal way. He nodded as he watched her open the front door. Before exiting the apartment, she turned back to him. Make this a good one, Shorty. Mama needs the money. The door closed and he stared at the empty space she occupied a few seconds earlier. One of Shorty Small's favorite places to be by himself remained the Grant Park area on South Lakeshore Drive. If he wanted to go to the Adler Planetarium, he could. If he wanted to sit on a park bench and stare out over Lake Michigan, he could. If he wanted to take a simple walk around the park, he could, and did more and more often over the last few months. During these solitary excursions, the faces and voices in his mind disappeared. He felt like a normal human being. Having grown up in the West Garland Park area of Chicago, his survival instincts were heightened by the constant threat of violent crimes in his neighborhood. Graduating from high school, he joined the Army and became an MP. After serving 4 tours in various hotspots around the world, he left the Army with an honorable discharge and the skills to effectively break up fights and corral violent men. Because of his size and these skills, a private security firm recruited him to work as a bodyguard for rich clients. This lasted almost a decade until the wife of one of the security firm's more wealthy clients seduced him one night. Without even a thank you for your service, Shorty Small found himself unemployed, without a place to live, and broke. Bouncing for a high-end bar in the downtown Loop area provided enough money to find a small apartment and to scrape by, until one of the patrons of the nightclub posed a question to him one night. Want to make some real money, Shorty? Sure, doing what? Using your hands. I'm all ears. 5 hours after Sara's visit, he knew the name of his next target and where he lived. This usually gave Small a head start on determining the best way to complete the job. Not so in the case of Homer Morris. The man rarely left the posh apartment building near Chicago's downtown Loop. When he did leave, it usually meant he sprinted from the front entrance, guarded by a huge doorman, to a waiting limousine. Following the limousine provided problematic due to the trips being at random times and never on a daily basis. An internet search on the man provided information Sara did not. Morris, 69 and a bachelor, did not work for a bank, nor did he have anything to do with a bank. He fell into the status of being the 100 first wealthiest persons in the world, having been knocked out of the top 100 by a hedge fund operator. The more Shorty Small uncovered about the enigmatic Homer Morris, the more he suspected Sara might be setting him up for a fall. In an attempt to discover why Sara would mislead him about the mark, he decided it would be in his best interest to confront the man. A rich guy like Morris might, when confronted by a man like Small, offer to up the ante. If not, well, the sum offered by Sara would work just as well. Small watched the building for the first 3 of the 7 days specified by the contract. A wide variety of services visited the apartment complex on a daily basis. However, they were always the same companies. AT&T for phone and internet problems. Always There Plumbing appeared to be the authorized vendor to take care of leaky faucets. Heating and air conditioning issues were handled by a company called All Seasons. The only vendors that varied seemed to be pizza delivery and catering services. Getting into the building as a pizza delivery guy seemed to be the easiest and least expensive method open to Small. On the fourth day, Morris left the apartment building just before noon. Small, having prepared for this, approached the building, holding an insulated pizza delivery bag, and handed the doorman a delivery ticket from a local pizza shop. 10 minutes later, he stood outside Homer Morris's apartment and, using skills learned as an MP, picked the lock and let himself into the home. The interior did not appear to be that of a lifelong bachelor. Instead, the living area decor revealed Morris to be fond of contemporary steel furnishings. Expensive area rugs accented the dark hardwood flooring. Small moved toward the flat's center and found an office with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. They were filled with biographies, autobiographies, history, science, and volumes by historic and modern philosophers. A massive oak desk sat in the middle of the room with a flat-screen computer monitor and a wireless keyboard and mouse. An antique lamp sat on the corner of the uncluttered surface. He sat in the Aeron mesh office chair and looked at the computer screen. After touching the space key, the display came to life. A rectangular box appeared asking for a pin. The home intruder lifted the laptop up to look at the underside of the unit. He found the code he sought, and then, over the course of the next hour, learned as much as he could about the man who owned the apartment. The door to Homer Morris's place opened slowly as the owner cautiously entered the living area. He stopped and observed a large man sitting in one of his Herman Miller Ames lounge chairs. The intruder sat there with a smile and an automatic pistol within reach on the side table. Morris showed no emotion as he gradually closed the front door. "I see you made yourself at home." Small tilted his head but said nothing as he watched the apartment owner try to determine the best approach to the problem he faced. Morris continued, "If you are going to shoot me, go ahead. I hate waiting." "I have no intentions of shooting you, at least not at the moment. Why did you put a contract out on yourself?" "Ah, that. Actually, it only appears I did." "Don't lie to me, Homer. May I call you Homer?" The billionaire shrugged. "Call me what you like. In reality, I am searching for someone to hire for a position I will soon have open." "I might have been born at night, but it wasn't last night. Try again." "I'm afraid I cannot give you a different answer, because this is exactly what I am doing." "You put out a contract on yourself to find an employee. Just what the hell do you do, Homer?" With a smile, Morris walked toward a similar chair to the one Small sat in, only on the opposite side of the fireplace. "I'm not looking for an employee. I am searching for an associate. There's a difference. I'm in the same business as you, Mr. Small." "You know who I am?" "Yes, I asked Sara to specifically hire you for this endeavor, although she did not know I was the target." "Go on." "Sara has always believed she would succeed me, but she has developed an unsophisticated streak. I find her extremely annoying, and she is horrible at her job." Small stayed silent. His right hand remained close to the Glock on the end table next to him. "You see, Mr. Small, I have built my company into a global empire with various divisions. I help governments, political parties, regimes, and dictators overcome problems they find particularly challenging to resolve." With a chuckle, Small said, "You're telling me, you being one of the richest individuals in the world, you're a hitman?" With a shrug, Morris said, "At one time, yes. I, personally, have not executed a contract for over 5 decades. Others do that for me now." "Like Sara?" "Sara is on the bottom rung of my organization, destined to remain there." "Where does that revelation put me?" "Independent contractor." Why me? Why give me the assignment of trying to take you out? I hope this does not disappoint you, but you were not my first choice. However, all the others I have, let's say, interviewed, failed. You, on the other hand, are the first one brazen enough to break into my house to ask why. And to actually get this close to me. Congratulations, you win the interview. Small gripped the Glock. So how much are you going to offer me to let you live? Morris frowned. I beg your pardon? I've had a lot of marks try to talk their way out of me pulling the trigger, but the tale you just spun is by far the grand prize winner. I am not spinning what you call a tale. I am actively looking for someone to supervise one of my divisions. Sweeping his hand across the room, Small snorted. How could you have made all this money doing what I do? I barely live from one contract to the next, yet you seem to have it all. Leaning back in his lounge chair, Morris put his elbow on the chair arms and made a steeple with his fingers. My organization encompasses many endeavors, one of which is helping with what I like to call personnel problems. But as one of the individuals who actually does the up-close and dirty work, you are paid the least. You see, anyone can pull a trigger. The smart ones learn quickly how to get others to do it for them. Then apparently, I ain't that smart. I don't believe that's the case. You actually worked for my organization when you were a bodyguard. I found you to be quite resourceful. Yeah, well, that didn't work out too well for me now, did it? Do you remember the conversation we had at Diva's on the loop? Small's reaction told Morris he did not remember. I asked you if you wanted to make some real money. That was you? I'm a little older now, but yes. So if you thought I was so resourceful, why'd you let me get fired? Being over such a large conglomerate has a tendency to draw your attention away from some of the day-to-day details. When all of this happened, I was out of the country. After I learned you were no longer with the company, I asked a few of my associates to find you. Small eased the grip on the Glock, but kept his attention on Morris. They found you at the bar. I watched you off and on over the course of several months and realized my company had lost a valuable asset. Did someone set me up for the encounter with the wife? Actually, the woman was paid to seduce you. The husband could have cared less about her, but someone you know convinced him he should demand you be fired. Who's this someone? Sara. Small stared at Morris for a long time. Pieces of the puzzle fell into place as he once again tightened his grip on the Glock, but his finger remained outside the trigger guard for the moment. I looked through your computer. Morris's eyebrows rose. You got past the security code? A nod from Small. I'm impressed. Resourceful and intelligent. Small took a deep breath and let it out slowly. Whatever. He paused for a heartbeat. I think you're making shit up, so I won't put a couple of holes in you that don't belong. If I'm so damn important to your company, why have I worked for Sara for so long? A sly smile appeared on Morris. 2 reasons, really. The first allowed me to see if you could put up with her abuse. You did, which means you have patience. Second, so you will have no problem helping her retire. So I had to put up with her for 3.5 years just so you could see if I had patience. Exactly. Where do you want the first bullet? Would you like a glimpse of what your future looks like? That would be interesting to see. Morris stood. Small tightened his grip on the Glock and placed his finger inside the trigger guard. He growled, Easy. Relax, Mr. Small. Allow me to walk you through the next steps of how you will become an associate. Sara Holcomb started the engine on her BMW M4 and backed out of her townhouse garage. Not hearing from Shorty Small for a couple of days, while not unusual, made her nervous. It was time to check on him at his apartment. Her expectations of finding him home and drunk remained high. She parked the car on the street outside the rundown building. After setting the car alarm, she entered the structure. The man lived on the 3rd floor, which in this place meant climbing 3 flights of stairs. Her first knock on the door went unanswered. After the 3rd try, she withdrew a key from her purse and unlocked the door. A dark, empty apartment greeted her. The sagging sofa, the beat-up kitchen table, and the threadbare armchair were gone. She rushed into the bedroom and found the same condition. Nothing. His clothes from the closet were gone, as well as the ancient chest of drawers he kept against a wall under the window. A bed frame without a mattress remained the only reminder of the room's purpose. Panic quickly spread as she added up the implications of the missing apartment occupant. The largest contract she had ever been offered appeared in jeopardy. Plus, failing at an assignment never went over well with her partners. She said to the empty bedroom, "How could you do this to me, Small?" She heard her car alarm blare below and rushed to the staircase. By the time she emerged from the building, she could see the taillights of her BMW disappear into traffic. She stamped her foot and screamed, "Son of a bitch!" Taking a series of very deep breaths, she calmed a bit and pulled out her cell phone to call 911. The police officers, who eventually responded, took her statement. When they finished, the older of the two gave her the information on where to find the police report for submission to her insurance company. As they turned to walk back to their patrol car, she grabbed the sergeant's shoulder. He glared at her and removed her hand. She said, "When will I get my car back?" The officer said, "By now, it's probably on a transport ship heading out to Lake Michigan and on to the Atlantic. File it with your insurance company, lady. The car's gone." "You can at least wait until I get a ride from Uber." He gave her a half smile. "Yeah, you'd think we would. Sorry." The patrol car pulled away from the curb as she called for a ride. The sun began to dip below the horizon when she finally returned to her townhouse. After the ordeal of the afternoon, the last thing she expected to happen did. Shutting the townhouse door, she turned to find Shorty Small standing in her living room with a Glock 19 pointed at her head. "Where the hell have you been, Small? You've cost me a new BMW M4. With a slight smile, he said, "How do you figure that?" "I was checking on you when my car got stolen. If you hadn't lived in such a shithole, I'd still have my car. You owe me big time, mister." "Sara, do you or do you not notice the gun pointed at your head?" "Oh, put that damn thing down. Where are you on the contract?" "I haven't done a damn thing about it." Her eyes widened. "Why not?" "Let me put it another way. I decided not to do it." She continued to glare at him with astonishment. "Who do you work for, Sara?" "None of your business." "How many contractors do you work with?" "That also is none of your business." "I'm looking at this very nice house in a safe neighborhood, and you drove a brand new BMW M4 while I live in squalor. I'm your only contractor, aren't I?" She hesitated and her eyes looked at the floor for a brief moment. "You are not." "The information I was given today contradicts everything you've always told me. The average contract you get is around $50,000. Since I know what you pay me, it works out to only 10%. If we complete 10 contracts a year, you bring in a cool $450,000 while I get paid a measly $50,000. Plus, I have to pay my own travel expenses." "Don't flatter yourself, Shorty. The contracts you get do not pay $50,000. Small rolled his eyes. "Yeah, right. If I remember correctly, when we started this little business agreement, you told me I would get 60% of the fee. 10% is a long way from 60. From what I figured out, looking back on what you've paid me over the last few years, you owe me close to 1.8 mil. Where is it?" "I don't owe you anything. I have always paid you 60%. "May I remind you of who is holding the gun?" She folded her arms and scowled at him. "If you shoot me, you'll be out of a job." "On the contrary, I'll have yours." "What do you mean you'll have my job?" "Exactly that. The last contract you gave me was a ruse. Do you know who Homer Morris is?" "Yeah, the name of the mark." "What else do you know about him?" "He's a mark. What else should I know about him?" If I remember our meeting, you told me he was a banker. Didn't you find it odd they actually gave you information about him? I'm surprised." He paused and chuckled. "No, I'm not surprised you didn't confirm anything about Morris. You've always been lazy, Sara." Her face grew flushed and her nostrils flared. What are you talking about?" "Homer Morris is the man who owns the company you work for. He's a billionaire and considers you an idiot." She screamed, "He is not!" as she raced toward Small. The Glock fired. The bullet entered her skull 3 centimeters above the right eye. 1 week later. Faces. Angry, distorted faces once again intruded on his dreams. They laughed, pointed, and danced in a circle. He wore no clothes as they frolicked and gestured in his direction. Sara Holmes now appeared in the chorus, making fun of him. He tried to cover himself, but the laughter only intensified. Sleep remained elusive as sweat rolled down his forehead, adding more moisture to the already soaked pillow. The hotel room he occupied in northern Detroit made his old apartment seem like a palace. Homer Morris, or whatever his real name might have been, no longer could be found. The high-end apartment in the building near the downtown loop did not have a man by the name of Homer Morris as a tenant. The luxury apartment, full of books and Herman Miller furniture, now stood empty. Records obtained from the building manager showed the lease on the apartment belonged to a high-tech company based in Germany. As he lay there, smoking a cigarette and staring at the ceiling, his disgust with his inability to resist the prospect of money and status deepened by the second. After finding the apartment empty, he spent 2 hours at a library searching the internet for more information about Homer Morris. The man did exist, and indeed headed up a huge conglomerate, but the only picture he found on the web bore no resemblance to the Homer Morris he met in Chicago. As was his habit, he fell into a deep sleep just before dawn. A banging on the hotel door brought him out of his dreamless slumber. "Must check out, you no pay. $50 for extra night." Opening the door, he found a slight, ancient, angry man standing in the doorway. Small said, "It's not noon yet." "Maybe where you from? Not here. Noon here. Pay up or leave." Small towered over the man by at least 1.5 feet and outweighed him by 100 pounds. Yet he stood there showing no fear. "Let me get my wallet." As he handed the man $50, Small said, "Room ain't worth $50 a night." "Not my problem. You no like, go someplace else." The diminutive man turned and scurried away. Looking at his meager reserves, Small counted a little under $2,000 left from the $8,000 he found in Sara's apartment. After purchasing a 20-year-old Honda Accord and 5 nights in flea-bag hotels, there would be little left in another week. He slammed the door and lit another cigarette. As he did, he stared at the laptop taken from the apartment of Sara Holcomb. With another day and night paid for, Small sat at the rickety room desk and opened the laptop lid. The computer sprang to life without requesting a pin. The man known to Shorty Small as Homer Morris sipped a straight whiskey while staring at the mirror behind the bar. A younger man sat next to him, nursing a beer. "Have you found Small yet?" "No, sir. He disappeared after leaving Sara Holcomb's place." "I'm not crying over the loss of Sara, but I do care about her laptop. Do you think Small took it?" "I would bet money on it." "Damn." Turning to the young man, he said in a growl, "Find him." The laptop revealed secrets concerning the actual business Sara Holcomb conducted. Multiple Excel spreadsheets recorded transactions for 2 different endeavors. However, both involved crimes against individuals. Small discovered Sara's main source of income came from the trafficking of female teenage runaways. The second source came from the endeavors of one man, Shorty Small. The more he dug into the accounting records, he found a disturbing pattern. A sizable percentage of Sara's income ended up being turned over to an entity called Potentia LLC. Records of who owned Potentia were not obvious within the files on Sara's computer. A quick search of the Illinois Secretary of State's office revealed the ownership of Potentia LLC consisted of 3 individuals, Sara being one. The other two names Small did not recognize. Using Google to search the names, one returned no results. When searched, the third name harvested 3 pages of references, a lengthy Wikipedia article, and numerous pictures. The pictures turned out to be the man known to Small as Homer Morris. According to the Wikipedia page, Oscar Lutz presided over a privately held real estate holding company with offices in Chicago, New York, London, and Berlin. Numerous other results in his internet search revealed several articles posted by the Chicago Tribune concerning the rumored reputation of one Oscar Lutz. The public image of the man seemed to be that of a philanthropic entrepreneur. The Tribune's reporters seemed to have flushed out that Lutz had a checkered past, which he hid from the public eye at all costs. On the third page of his Google search, Small found a reference to a charity auction being hosted by Oscar Lutz and other rich individuals in the Chicago social scene. When he noticed the date of the event, he smiled. He now knew where Lutz would be and when. Without hesitation, he packed the few items he possessed and hauled them to his Honda. The 10,000-square-foot mansion near Lincoln Park provided a stunning view of Lake Michigan. The auction being held at the home of Oscar Lutz for the benefit of the homeless seemed to Shorty Small a slap in the face for those unfortunate individuals. With his experience working for a security company, he dressed in a rented tuxedo and infiltrated the event posing as part of the security detail. He stayed in the background, avoiding the real security personnel. 20 minutes after arriving, he knew where his quarry would be after the event. While the party started downstairs, he entered the private bedroom of Oscar Lutz. Patience and planning are the hallmark of a good hitman. Shorty Small possessed more than his fair share. He sat in the shadows of the bedroom in a leather wingback chair and listened to the commotion from the auction drifting up from the first floor. Time passed slowly as he stared at the bedroom door. Sounds from below grew less and less as the clock ticked toward midnight. Finally, at a few minutes past 12:30, the house grew still. A few minutes later, Small heard female giggling in a clumsy attempt to open the door. Tightening his grip on his Glock, a slight smile came to his lips. The bedroom door burst open as he heard the woman say, "I'll use the little girl's room while you make us another drink." A splendid idea. Lutz froze when he spotted the big man training the pistol on him. "Your resourcefulness has never ceased to amaze me, Mr. Small." The drunk woman looked at Shorty and then at Lutz. "Who is this person, Oscar?" "An old business acquaintance who seems to be upset about his and my last transaction." Small remained silent as he stood. Walking toward the two individuals, he motioned for them to move further into the room. He closed the bedroom door, keeping his concentration on Lutz. "I take it you found Sarah's laptop." A nod came from the big man. "I hope you have not shared it with the authorities." "Not yet." "Good. That means we can make a deal." "I doubt it. After your little stunt of posing as Homer Morris, I don't believe I can trust you." "I imagine there's a lot of information about you on it as well." "There was." "Was?" "As you have said several times, I'm a resourceful man." "Don't forget who killed Sarah Holcomb." "Yeah, there is that." Lutz frowned. The woman started to sob. Small motioned to her with the gun. "Shut her up or I will." Turning to the sobbing woman, Lutz said, "My dear, I believe it would be prudent for you to stay quiet." She nodded but continued to sniffle. Turning back to Small, the older man asked, "Now what?" "You're going to give me access to your bank accounts." Lutz smiled. "That means we can deal." "We'll see. It depends on how much money you've got." The waitress of a small diner east of Des Moines, Iowa, just off Interstate 80, set the plate of eggs and hash browns in front of Shorty Small. She said, "Can I get you anything else, hon?" Looking up, Shorty Small smiled and held up his coffee mug. "Could I get a warm-up?" "Sure, be right back." He turned his attention back to the folded Chicago Tribune laying on the table showing the headlines on the front page. local philanthropist dead in murder-suicide. Chicago police are investigating the apparent murder-suicide of local businessman Oscar Lutz and his girlfriend Joyce Robinette. Evidence found in the Lincoln Park home of Lutz point to his involvement in a human sex trafficking racket and gun-for-hire scheme. Police also indicate a weapon found in the hands of Lutz is the firearm used to murder a Chicago woman 2 weeks earlier. The waitress filled his coffee mug and glanced at the headline. "He got what he deserved. I can't imagine what those poor girls went through." Looking up, he said, "Yeah, I agree with you." She walked away and he returned his attention to the newspaper. He mumbled to himself, "Guess I have to thank you, Lutz. I actually slept all night for the first time in 7 years." I hope you enjoyed tonight's story, No Tears for Sara, penned by J.C. Fields. J.C. Fields is an award-winning and Amazon best-selling author. He is a full member of the Missouri Writers Guild and is active in numerous other writing groups. His Sean Kruger series has won numerous awards, including multiple gold and silver medals in the Reader's Favorite International Book Contest. The Imposter's Trail was awarded Best Mystery Thriller at the 2017 Ozark Indie Book Fest. In March of 2020, his novel, A Lone Wolf, became a #1 Amazon best-selling audiobook. His second novel in the series, The Last Insurgent, became a #1 Amazon new release in January 2021. All of the aforementioned books can be found on audible.com, narrated by yours truly. If you'd like to learn more about J.C. Fields, you can reach out to him at jcfieldsbooks.com. That's jcfieldsbooks.com or bookbub.com/authors/J-C-Fields. You can also reach him at facebook.com/jcfieldsbooks. Mandy Morgan touts herself as an ERE, Essence Reclamation expert. With the help of her twin brother, Parker, they grift across the world, scamming the bereaved by faking hauntings and then reclaiming the disembodied souls, all for a hefty price. When the two scammers come across the Kendall family, Mandy's worst fears come to fruition as she discovers there is a high price to pay for leading such a deplorable life. And now, for your indulgence, Reclamation. Chapter 1. Dry, dead leaves crunched underneath the rhythmic footfalls of the trio. Mrs. Kendall took in a haggard breath, clearly struggling to keep a steady pace. Mandy watched the elderly Mark, noting she had a death grip on her son Trevor as they wound their way through the maze of headstones. "Are we close? My hips and knees hurt." Mrs. Kendall's frail voice was tinged with hints of worry, pain, and fear. "Up one more row on the left, Mom. Almost there. A few more minutes and this'll be over, just like Ms. Harrison promised. Dad's spirit will be reunited with his body, and he'll pass on to the next plane of existence." There was a slight hint of sarcasm in the rich twerp's tone that irritated Mandy, known to the Kendalls as Jasmine Harrison, ERE. Trevor still doubted her abilities, which caused major concern. Hopefully, he would change his opinion of her upon reaching the destination and viewing the real show. Glancing up to the forest canopy, she admired the silvery tendrils of moonlight streaming through the leafless trees as though an otherworldly guide. From the moon's placement in the sky, she knew it was close to 1 a.m. Perfection. They were right on schedule. Parker had outdone himself. She couldn't see one piece of equipment in the bare limbs of the trees. Thinking about her twin and business partner, sparked a wave of anger. She had told him not to spend too much time at the cemetery and to focus on making the hovering apparition beyond believable at the Kendall residence. He had failed, requiring Mandy to use her own resourcefulness to pull off the reclamation. What appeared in front of them all was way below Parker's skill level, like cheap special effects in a low-budget horror movie. Based on Trevor's attitude, intuition told her that after this job, they'd have to slink away again to another state, just to be safe. They had spent her entire life bouncing from one place to the next. Constant movement was normal. Staying in one place, repeating the same day over and over, terrified her because it was foreign. She didn't mind changing appearances, her name, getting new business cards and burner phones, finding a place to live that asked no questions and took cash, although that was becoming increasingly difficult. She relished researching a new town and all the wealthy residents, and most importantly, their health. Her parents would be proud of her accomplishments, except for the botched job like the one in Seattle 16 months prior. Stop worrying. The old geezer's wife died last month. Parker attended the funeral, incognito of course, and we are free and clear. No remaining family members alive to come snooping around or ask probing questions about the money. Focus on the task at hand, fool. Perhaps Parker's punishment should be a lesser percentage of tonight's fee. No, it's time to part ways for good. Parker's sloppy and I'm sick of fixing his mistakes. If I take all of tonight's haul, I'll have reached my goal. A cool $1 million. Sorry, bro, but you're on your own. I promised our parents at the funeral I'd take care of you, and I did. For 7 years, I'm kicking you out of this nest. Fly or fall, flap or splat. I'm bound for the beach while I still have the boobs and ass to snag a rich old and lonely man. Decision made, she clamped her fingers around the jewel-encrusted box, careful not to touch the hidden button until the appropriate time. The red, blue, and topaz fake stones were high enough quality that the forgery passed muster numerous times with other clients accustomed to fine jewelry. The heavy chain around her neck, tethering her to Parker, vanished. She felt light, airy. Freedom, baby. Yeah. She never left anything to chance, especially since their prey were well off, and sometimes, like tonight, Parker wasn't on his game. He needed to lay off the ganja. THC ruined his memory and dulled once sharp senses. They couldn't afford mistakes or unhappy customers. Disgruntled folks never shared positive reviews. Suspicious people talked to the police. The siblings grifted across the United States, Canada, and a few times to Mexico, just like their parents, though they were much better at their craft. Advanced technology made it a breeze. However, Mandy feared they had stretched their luck to the limit. It was time for Madeline Patricia Morgan to retire. What Parker Matthew Morgan did with his life was solely up to him. The late November air was crisp. A slight breeze ruffled tufts of auburn curls around her face, cooling her nerves down. A rank odor wafted through the air. Her nose twitched in response. Parker went overboard with the patchouli and oregano oils. The stench was almost unbearable. Oh my, that's a foul smell. What is it, Trevor? Just rotten, moldy leaves and maybe a skunk nearby, Mom. We probably got too close, so it's sprayed. That doesn't smell like a skunk to me. More like burned matches. On instinct, Mandy took a slow, deep breath. No, it wasn't Parker's usual concoction, nor was it a skunk. Mrs. Kendall was on target. It smelled like sulfur. A lot of sulfur. Nerves on edge, Mandy waited for her back pocket to buzz 3 times. The agreed-upon signal, Parker was in place and ready. As they neared the location of the grave, she thought about the arrival at Mrs. Kendall's house. A snide grin appeared. She let it remain, knowing the duo in front of her concentrated on their steps rather than the weird woman with the jade green eyes behind them. The intense conversation from earlier filtered through her thoughts as they made their way up the small incline to the appropriate headstone. She had been greeted by the nerdy, overweight offspring the second she exited the car. Trevor had cornered her in the driveway, pudgy face contorted in disgust, his expensive cashmere sweater pulled tight around a rotund midsection. The look spoke volumes about his opinion of the woman hired to help guide his father, Jared Kendall, recently deceased, to the other side. My mother isn't thinking with a clear head. Dad's been gone 6 weeks. She hasn't had time to process the loss. They were married for 45 years, together for 55, so of course she's struggling. I won't tolerate you playing into her demented fantasies just to swindle her for money. I overheard your conversation on the phone yesterday, and the exorbitant price you quoted, in cash, as in ERB. It's ERE, Mr. Kendall, Essence Reclamation Expert. I don't give a shit if you have the entire alphabet behind your name, Miss Jasmine Harrison. Great fake name, by the way. Even brain surgeons don't charge $100,000 for a few hours service. I mean, come on. That's insane. I insist you leave now. Mr. Kendall, I'm not playing games. I'm here at your mother's request, not yours, to perform a thorough investigation into the EVP activities she relayed to me over the phone. If I detect anything amiss in terms of her mental state or conclude no spiritual activity in the residence exists, I will be happy to leave, and of course, waive my fee. Believe me, I hope for the latter, because the reclamation process takes a heavy toll on my mind and body, which is why I quote high fees and ask for cash payments. The government should not profit off my pain. You see, I allow the essence of the departed to enter me so I can guide them to... What a load of shit! You've watched 13 Ghosts way too many times. Let's end this charade. The problem isn't my dad's lost, restless soul as my mother thinks. The problem is she knocks back too much gin and very little tonic at night. Once she's wasted, she hears the voice of my father all over the house. I talked to her doctor about this. It's called alcoholic hallucinosis. She isn't experiencing a haunting, she's hallucinating. Your mother told me she lives alone. Is that statement correct? Yeah, so what's your point? How do you know what she hears or the amount of alcohol she consumes if you aren't around to verify? Trevor had glared, scrunching up his face, his cheeks turned rosy red. I take out her garbage, buy the groceries, and balance her checkbook. I know exactly how much she drinks and what liquor store delivers extra gin when she runs out. Ghosts aren't real. I stayed here for 2 full weeks after the funeral and didn't experience a thing except creaking boards and drafts, which is expected in a house this size and age. My father's dead. He keeled over in the backyard from a massive coronary. Poor Mom watched the love of her life die before the paramedics arrived while he was sprawled out on the yellowing lawn. Years of a fatty diet, lack of exercise, and a fondness for bourbon literally exploded his heart. When no more blood pumps through tissue, it dies. Scientific fact. The grave is the end and where flesh decomposes. Is that so? Don't take that haughty tone with me. Yeah, that's so. Mother hears whispers of the past created by her damaged, sorrowful mind. She can't bring herself to let go and accept the painful truth that he's gone. The fact she contacted you confirms she's not dealing with reality or a sober mind. There's no such thing as spirits, hauntings, a soul, period, end of story. People like you who hunt these smoke and mirrors trickery are frauds, nasty leeches feeding off the pain and loneliness of the bereaved. I mean, seriously, you don't even have any equipment, just some stupid box with Egyptian hieroglyphics. What's the plan? Lure him with precious stones and some ancient incantations? Pathetic. I do not hunt the spirits of the departed, Mr. Kendall. I assist in reclaiming detached souls and reunite them with their earthly form. I'm the equipment. Call me a genetic oddity if that sits better with you. Sometimes when the death is violent or unexpected, save your dog and pony show for someone stupid enough to fall for the lies. I said leave, and I mean it. Trevor's muscles had tensed as he prepared to lunge. He stopped short when Clara Kendall opened the front door. Hurry! He's in our bedroom. Oh, my beloved Jarrett's here and in visible form. Come and see. Feigning a dizzy spell, Mandy had clasped her hand around the railing, gaze focused on the front door. Your father senses my energy aura and fed off it to make an appearance. Confused beings have been drawn to me my whole life. Trust me, it isn't a pleasant experience. Shall we? Trevor had cursed under his breath, back rigid and steps purposeful as he trudged to the front door. Oh, here he rests, my beloved. I miss you so much, dear, but I can't take any more of your scary visits. We'll all see you soon. Pulled out of her musings by Mrs. Kendall's teary voice, Mandy walked past the duo, stopping in front of the enormous headstone. Clouds appeared, bathing the little glen in near darkness. Pushing past the queasy feeling in her stomach, she forced her muscles to relax. Lowering her head, she closed her eyes after placing the box on top of the marble. With the flick of her finger, she discreetly pushed the hidden button. A spark of red shot up nearly 20 feet in the air, illuminating the area with a crimson glow. Whoa, Parker must have made upgrades. This is new. Nice touch, bro. A loud thump, followed by Trevor's gasp, made chills run up her spine. She opened her eyes. Mom? Mom? Oh no. Before she could blink, Trevor collapsed, hand clutching the left arm, landing inches away from his mother. His head smashed against a large rock. The sulfur stench was back with a vengeance. In shock, Mandy crept her way over to the bodies. Terror thrummed inside her chest as she reached down, touching the jugular of each one. No pulse. No respirations. Eyes fixed and dilated. Son of a bitch! In a panic, she ran back to the headstone and snatched the box. Both old fools suffered heart attacks at the same time. This isn't happening. She ran, but only made it a few yards when she remembered the business cards. Returning to the corpses, she riffled through their pockets and Mrs. Kendall's purse. Nothing. Spinning around in a full circle, she searched for Parker, willing him to appear from the shadows. He was supposed to be nearby, watching, ready to unleash the special effects. Where are you? I need you. Bucket, can't waste any more precious time. Turning, she fled through the dense woods, ignoring the sting of vines and tree limbs ripping across her face until she reached her car. Chapter 2. Tossing the box in the passenger seat, she cranked up the car. Highway to Hell by AC/DC blared from the speakers. With shaky fingers, she turned off the radio. Looking in the back seat, she took a deep, calming breath. The bag with the payment for Mrs. Kendall was still there, along with her emergency bags, each filled with enough clothes, fake identities, and cash to make a clean getaway. As the engine idled, she weighed her options. Flee and let Parker handle the fallout, or stay long enough to clean up the mess and then bolt. No, I must get the business cards and wipe the house of my fingerprints. Parker would just screw that up. I refuse to spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder. Decision made, she put the car in reverse. Before backing out of the parking lot, she scanned the area, making sure no one was around. Satisfied she was alone, she eased out onto the dark two-laned road. Reaching for the cell to call Parker, it rang. She jumped, nearly losing control of the vehicle. Where the hell are you? We've got trouble. Major trouble. My car died. I called you like 50 times. Why didn't you answer? Wait for me. We're a team, and rule number 1 is we never operate solo. What kind of trouble are you in? Did Trevor peg you for a fake?" A cold chill skittered up her spine. For a split second, her vision blurred. The sulfur stench must have adhered to her clothes because the odor was back. Clara and Trevor are dead. Holy hell, what happened? Slowing down to take a curve, words tumbled out. "I'm not a doctor, but my guess is they went just like the old man. Massive coronaries. They both just fell out right as we reached Jared's grave. I'm on my way back to their house to get the cards and remove all traces I was there. You need to get the bodies and dispose of them." "Chill, sis. You're rambling and obviously not thinking straight. I just said my car's dead, which means I can't go anywhere until you come get me. You need to hurry up. I'm freezing. Where are you? Oh, wait. I see headlights." Her phone beeped once, then shut down. "Damn battery." While rounding the curve, a weird electrical current made the hairs on her arms stand erect. A strange buzzing sound from the passenger seat made her glance down. The box vibrated, as though invisible hands shook it like a magic 8-ball. What in the world? The interior of the car filled with vibrant red light. Temporarily blinded, her foot instinctively hit the brakes. Tires squalled, the back end fishtailed. The box tumbled to the floor and went out. Looking back to the road, she screamed, veering left and then overcorrecting as red blinking taillights appeared in front of the hood. Bam! Her head slammed into the steering wheel. Stars danced behind her eyes. Oddly, she felt no pain. Blood streamed down her face. Wiping it away, she peered out the shattered windshield, noting the thick streaks of red. And Parker's Lexus only feet away. No. Exiting the car, heart racing, mind spinning, she staggered toward the trunk. Parker's twisted body lay in a crumpled heap, blood tinged with foamy saliva oozing from swollen lips. "Parker!" Dropping to the cold pavement, she knelt beside him. He coughed once, spewing out a huge dollop of something thick, congealed, and sticky onto her arm. His lips trembled. I'm not cold anymore." Tears streamed down her face, dripping onto her twin's forehead. She could tell by the angle his neck was broken. For the first time in her life, she froze, unable to figure out what to do next. "Well, I'll see you soon." She gaped at him. His lips moved, but the words were not in his voice. Now's not the time to let hysteria control me. That wasn't Clara. She's dead. So's Trevor. And soon, my brother. Get up, find his cell, and call for help. No, wait. I can't call the police. Oh, shit. What should I do? A huge gust of wind hit her, nearly knocked her backward. The sulfur stench returned. Parker coughed again, this time not as strong. His lips curled into a sinister smirk. "You already know what you want to do, sis. Time to part ways for good because I'm sloppy and you're sick of fixing my mistakes. Take all of tonight's haul. Congrats, you've reached your goal, a cool $1 million. Don't be sorry for leaving me here to die alone. I know you planned on kicking me out of the nest. What was the expression? Oh yeah, fly or fall, flap or splat. You took the musings literally and splatted me. Sibling rivalry at its finest. Go, head to the beach while those boobs and ass still look good. You got an old rich man to snag." Shaking, Mandy scooted backward, overcome with terror. "How? There's no... What the fuck is going on?" "Well, I'll see you soon." The words repeated over and over, each time in different voices until they finally hit a crescendo, merging all together. "Well, I'll see you soon." "We'll all see you soon." "We'll all see you soon." "We'll all see you soon." Sobbing, Mandy scrambled to her feet, fell twice, and finally made it to the car. She didn't think about anything except getting far away from the area. Head injury. That's it. I have a head injury. I hit a deer or a cow or simply smashed into a deserted car on the road. I did not just kill my brother. I did not. Slamming the car into drive, she floored it. Tears and snot rushed down her face, mixing with the blood. The glow of city lights loomed in the distance. After wiping her face, she took a deep breath, letting her foot ease off the gas pedal. Her vision doubled. Her arms and legs felt heavy. Controlling them became a chore. Need a doctor. The radio came back on, blaring Highway to Hell full blast. The sulfur stench assaulted her nose. Her eyes watered. Waves of burning electricity shot through her torso, rendering her body immobile. Multicolored lights swarmed the interior. She took a ragged breath, and then everything faded into dark, cold oblivion. Chapter 3. A strange, loud noise brought her up from the deep, dark well she'd been trapped inside. It took all the mental strength she could muster to force her eyes open. Bam, bam, bam. A hazy image appeared to the left. It took her several seconds to focus and obtain a clear picture. No freaking way. Opening the door, she stumbled out, nearly falling at his feet. Trevor's face contorted in disgust. His expensive cashmere sweater pulled tight around a rotund midsection. Before she could say a word, he lit into her. My mother isn't thinking with a clear head. Dad's been gone 6 weeks. She hasn't had time to process the loss. They were married for 45 years, together for 55, so of course she's struggling. I won't tolerate you playing into her demented fantasies just to swindle her for money. I overheard your conversation on the phone yesterday, and the exorbitant price you quoted, in cash, as in ERB. As though speaking from inside a barrel, she heard herself respond, It's ERE, Mr. Kendall, Essence Reclamation Expert. I don't give a shit if you have the entire alphabet behind your name, Miss Jasmine Harrison. Great fake name, by the way. Even brain surgeons don't charge $100,000 for a few hours service. I mean, come on. That's insane. I insist you leave. Now. Mandy desperately wanted to leave, to say something, anything other than what came out. Mr. Kendall, I'm not playing games. I'm here at your mother's request, not yours, to perform a thorough investigation into the EVP activities she relayed to me over the phone. If I detect anything amiss in terms of her mental state or conclude no spiritual activity in the residence exists, I will be happy to leave, and of course, waive my fee. Believe me, I hope for the latter, because the reclamation process takes a heavy toll on my mind and body, which is why I quote high fees and ask for cash payments. The government should not profit off my pain. You see, I allow the essence of the departed to enter me so I can guide them to... What a load of shit! You've watched 13 Ghosts way too many times. Let's end this charade. A weird buzzing sound filled her mind, drowning out the rest of Trevor's angry words. Trapped inside a vortex of swirling confusion, it took all Mandy had to stay upright. There's no such thing as spirits, hauntings, a soul, period, end of story. People like you who hunt these smoke and mirrors trickery are frauds, nasty leeches feeding off the pain and loneliness of the bereaved. I mean, seriously, you don't even have any equipment, just some stupid box with Egyptian hieroglyphics. What's the plan? Lure him with precious stones and some ancient incantations? Pathetic. Wake up, Mandy. Wake up. You aren't really here. It's a dream. No, a nightmare caused by the gash on your skull. Don't say it. Don't. I do not hunt the spirits of the departed, Mr. Kendall. I assist in reclaiming detached souls and reunite them with their earthly form. I'm the equipment. Call me a genetic oddity if that sits better with you. Sometimes when the death is violent or unexpected, save your dog and pony show for someone stupid enough to fall for the lies. I said leave, and I mean it. Trevor lunged, stopping short as his mother's voice rang out. Hurry! He's in our bedroom. Oh, my beloved Jarrett's here, and in visible form. Come and see. We'll all see you soon, dear. We'll all see you soon. Overcome with a wave of nausea and dizziness, Mandy grabbed the railing before passing out. With shaky fingers, she touched the spot on her forehead where she hit the steering wheel. Nothing. No wound. No blood. No pain. Whimpering inside her mind, her lips betrayed her mental instructions as she said, Your father senses my energy aura and fed off it to make an appearance. Confused beings have been drawn to me my whole life. Trust me, it isn't a pleasant experience. Shall we? Lying bitch. Yeah, let's go. We'll all see you soon. Mandy collapsed onto the ground, grateful for the sweet release of unconsciousness. Leaves crunched as they walked. Mandy heard the noise and the chatter between Clara and Trevor Kendall, yet couldn't feel the ground beneath her feet. Despite trying to run away, she walked past them, finally stopping at the headstone. And then she relived it all over again. The sick feeling in her gut. The explosion of red from the box. The loud thump, followed by Trevor gasping and then screaming, Mom? Mom? Oh, no. Trevor collapsing to the ground by his mother. The overwhelming stench of sulfur. No pulses. No respirations. 2 sets of fixed, dilated eyes. Running through the dense woods, mentally torturing herself with nasty, uncontrollable thoughts about Parker. Part of her mind pleaded with the cosmos that this was all a hallucination and not reality. Vines and tree limbs ripped across her face, yet she felt no pain, only unrelenting sheer terror. She was back in the car now, willing her hands to remain still, yet she picked up the cell phone anyway. She heard herself speak with her brother, the conversation verbatim from before. Trapped inside her mind, which clearly wasn't controlling her limbs and quite possibly was damaged beyond repair from the accident. Where you killed Parker? No, I did not. This is all trauma from the injury. The curve loomed ahead. Her brother's haunting words. Chill, sis, you're rambling and obviously not thinking straight. I just said my car's dead, which means I can't go anywhere until you come get me. You need to hurry up. I'm freezing. Where are you? Oh, wait, I see headlights. Click. Phone lost power. Wails of sorrow burst from her mouth as she rounded the curve. The electrical current filled the car. The box vibrating, but this time, no light filled the car. Ha! It's just a dream. A break in the repetition. The squall of tires. Her screams of utter panic while veering left and then overcorrecting. Taillights of Parker's Lexus. Bam! Her head slamming into the steering wheel. Stars. No pain. No, no, no. Staggering toward the trunk. Parker's mangled body, back and neck broken, mouth spewing out a piece of himself onto her arm. I'm not cold anymore. Told you, sis, that we'll all see you soon. Abject fear rendered her speechless. Stuck in a loop of overwhelming sorrow and fear, she felt truly alone for the first time in her life. The huge gust of wind grazed over her face, yet she barely noticed. Parker's voice took on a high, unfamiliar pitch. It was like shards of glass carving out chunks of her soul. Desperate to muffle the sound, her fingers clamped over each ear. Don't be sorry for leaving me here to die alone. I know you planned on kicking me out of the nest. What was the expression? Oh yeah, fly or fall, flap or splat. Ha! You took the musings literally and splatted me. Sibling rivalry at its finest. Go, head to the beach while those boobs and ass still look good. You got an old rich man to snag. How? There's no... What the fuck is going on? We'll all see you soon. We'll all see you soon. We'll all see you soon. Once on her feet, as heaving sobs burst from her chest, she ran. Head injury. That's it. I have a head injury. I hit a deer or a cow or simply smashed into a deserted car on the road. I did not just kill my brother. I did not. Gunning the engine as tears and snot rushed down her face, she fled. There was no way this was real. She had to be in a hospital bed somewhere, huge bandage around her head. Maybe given medication that was screwing with her mind. The radio came back on, blaring Highway to Hell full blast. Fists pounding against the wheel, she flung her head back while closing her eyes, letting out a guttural scream. Wake up! Wake the fuck up! This isn't real! It's only a dream! Suddenly the car stopped. Relief washed over her like a cleansing summer rain. Opening her eyes, expecting to see the face of a concerned doctor or nurse, she could do nothing but stare into the angry, hateful face of Trevor Kendall as he pounded on the window. Her wails of pain could not drown out the gut-wrenching repetition of the last night of her life. Over and over and over. Hope you enjoyed tonight's story, Reclamation, written by Ashley Fontainne. Ashley Fontainne is a major writing contributor to Fear from the Heartland. Ms. Fontainne is an international best-selling author and has penned over 23 works in numerous genres. Her works can be found on Audible.com as well, including the first 2 books of the Legion novella series, narrated by me. To find more of her excellent work, check out her website at ashleyfontaine.net. That's Ashley, Ashley, Fontaine, Fontaine.net. Or connect with Ashley on Facebook at ashley.fontaine. If you enjoyed tonight's story, hosted by yours truly, Paul J. McSorley, you can search my name on Chilling Tales for Dark Nights on YouTube for additional previous stories. If you'd like to hear more lengthy tales, be sure to take a look at my audiobooks. Available now on audible.com or just visit paulsbooks.net. That's paulsbooks.net. You can also find me personally on Facebook and Twitter. And with that, listeners, our weekly journey into the psyche has just about come to a close. But before we go, I'd like to take a moment to thank you for joining us for tonight's episode and remind you to take a moment to stop by our iTunes page and leave Chilling Tales for Dark Nights a 5-star review and a kind word. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram if you haven't already. And of course, subscribe to us on YouTube, where you can find an archive of our work going back to 2012. And consider signing up as a patron at our website, chillingtalesfordarknights.com, to show your support and get all of our content ad-free. I'm your host for Fear from the Heartland, Paul J. McSorley. I've enjoyed the titillation tonight. Ooh, there's that word again. Thank you for joining me. Hope to see you again next week at Fear from the Heartland.
Chilling Tales for Dark Nights.